Mr. Chair, you are live.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City of Annapolis Board of Appeals special virtual meeting for November 16th, 2022. This meeting is being broadcast on the City of Annapolis YouTube channel. My name is Bob Gallagher, Chair of the Board. This virtual format allows the public to observe the meeting through the video link, to submit written comments through the City of Annapolis website, links to the YouTube channel, to the comment form on the city's website, and to a database containing information about the cases you'll be hearing about tonight. Those links may all be found on the agenda for tonight's meeting. The folks that you see on the screen are members of the board. When a case is called, the representatives of the parties to the case will also appear on the screen. Also participating in the meeting are our recording secretary, Kim Consoli, our broadcast technician tonight, Julian Jock. Also participating, we have representative of the city attorney's office, Trip Fulton, for the Department of Planning and Zoning. We expect board counsel Lisa Bell just joined us. Jacqueline Rouse is the liaison to the board from Planning and Zoning. And there may be one or more other members of the planning staff. I think tonight we also have with us Kim Burke. Any public comments received by noon today in matters before the board this evening have been provided to the board and the parties have been made part of the record. The public may also submit comments on any case heard tonight and continue to a future date until noon on the date that the hearing is resumed. We ask everyone but the members of the board to mute their audio. If anyone wishes to speak during the meeting, please raise your hand and I will call on you to speak. Let me remind everyone that communications with the board about any case by anyone other than a party to the case must go through the comment form on the city's website. All communications by parties to a case must go through board liaison Jackie Rouse. No one should contact any member of the board directly about a case under any circumstances. So we'll begin with a call of the roll, and I'll ask Ms. Consoli to do that.
Mr. Gallagher,
Yes.
Mr. Zazali,
Yes.
Dr. Chen,
Present.
Mr. Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Hector. We do not have him yet.
Well, if he joins us, we'll note that on the record when he arrives.
Yes,
But we do have a quorum and we'll move ahead. So have the members of the board had a chance to review the agenda for tonight's meeting?
Yes.
Are there any corrections or additions?
No.
Move to accept as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That takes care of that one. Next, we have up for our approval minutes from the meeting of October 19th, 2022. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes?
I move that the minutes of the October 19th agenda, 2022 agenda be approved.
For a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much. So our first substantive matter this evening, we'll consider the application variance 2022-007, application by owners Jonathan and Allison Lenoci, property owners for a reduction to the interior side yard setback of 6 feet to 3 feet 8 inches for construction of a new 2-story addition to the existing dwelling located at 16 Glen Avenue. So will that be Kim introducing that for the city? Not seeing Kim.
On mute.
Kim, it seems like we lost your audio. I see you're unmuted, but your voice is not coming through.
Can you hear me now?
There you are.
Yes.
Okay, yes, I will be introducing this.
The floor is yours.
Okay, so this variance is for the required side yard in the R2 zone is 6 feet. The property owner is asking for a variance to put a rear addition on his house to from 6 feet to 3 feet 8 inches. And it is in keeping with the side yard of the existing house. And the lot is substandard. R2 is a 50-foot lot width. This one is 40 feet in lot width. And as of this hearing, we've had no neighborhood correspondence. So the staff supports the variance to the setback, which would be in keeping with the original house, which is 3 foot 8 inches from the side yard. And I don't know if, sorry, go ahead.
Is the department satisfied that the notice and posting requirements have been complied with?
Yes.
So we'd like to give an opportunity for the applicants to be heard if they have something to add. I just remind you that we have read the application and all your attachments, including your effort to address the requirements for a variance. We've also read the staff's evaluation of the application and their views. We've reviewed your plans and other exhibits. So we're very familiar with this and we welcome you to say anything that you think we need to know, but please don't go over things that we've already had a chance to review.
I think with all that knowledge, we don't have anything to add besides the information that you have in front of you.
Great. Any questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman, just a quick, if we could, either from Spire or from Kim, if you could just outline why this is not this is more than just a hardship. I mean, this is a hardship and not just an inconvenience.
Kim, do you prefer that I speak to that, or?
Okay,
Yeah,
why don't you take it, Craig?
yeah.
So two things, the lot being substandard width, it makes it difficult. There is a shared driveway on the other side. So the existing house is pretty tightly squeezed between the, if you're looking at the front of the house, the left lot line and the existing driveway. So with the reduction of the site width to follow the existing setback straight back is what allows an actual room to occur on the back of the house, as you can see in the plans. And if memory serves, there have been other properties on the street that have requested the same variance for the exact same reasons. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Christian? Christian, you're on mute.
Letter G, within the intent and purpose of the zoning code, the variance, if granted, is the minimum variance necessary to afford relief. Your response tells us what you're doing, but it doesn't address the question. What I'm looking for there is for you to describe how 12'4" as a width for the covered porch and the necessity to do the 20'6" along the back of the house is the minimum size necessary within the code. Why are those dimensions? Alignment is architecturally pleasing, but it does not answer it does not specifically address the minimum relief requirement.
Sure. I think the most important part for the size are the rooms on the second floor, to make rooms, having those two rooms across the back in the upper floor, providing the ability to have a hallway that can lead to two doors to have, I mean, the rooms are relatively modest. So anything smaller would not make a real passable room as a bedroom. So it really came down to the width of the existing structure was limited already because of the narrow site. So to get two viable rooms across the back of the house, this was, it was not having the existing 6-foot setback on that one side made it very difficult to get any kind of actual rooms that were comfortable in size.
So 11 foot 11, in your professional opinion, is the minimal practical size for a bedroom?
I think with the closet configuration there, and especially the hallway was one of the real considerations, having a double loaded quarter on either side. So to be able to access those two rooms in the back, to have the closet space, and then having egress windows properly for all those bedrooms, making it all fit into a 12 by 12 spot was tough as it is. So any reduction in footprint area would make it,
Okay.
I would say,
Thank you.
exorbitantly.
That answer is more appropriate to the question. So if you find yourself in that position again, you're qualified to answer. You just need to answer it correctly.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Dr. Chen,
I have no additional questions.
what's happening with impervious and lot coverage? Are we reducing it at all?
Thank you.
It's not critical area.
It's not
No,
critical area, so
This property is not in the critical area, so the lot coverage is not an issue. And there's no stormwater management required because of the limit of disturbance is less than 5,000 square feet. And there's no trees being removed with this either.
Yeah, that's a good answer. And if no stormwater management's required, that's fine. But I'd like to encourage owners and their architects, where they're already making major changes, to think about whether there's an opportunity to do some stormwater management that's not going to add significantly to the cost of the job and will help contribute to the solution of the serious problem that the city faces. So I just ask you to do that. Think about that.
Thank you.
All right, if there are no other questions from members of the board, the hearing will be continued until December 6th. The record will remain open until noon on the 6th for public comments relating to evidence presented to the board tonight. So it shouldn't take us very long to give you a decision on the case on December 6th.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you for your brevity and nice, clear presentation. And good luck. We'll see you on the 6th. So Julian, if you'd like to excuse these folks and bring in the next group, we'll move on.
Coming in now, and I believe your Spire is going to stick around with us.
Okay, we got everyone we need.
Yes, sir.
Well, Mr. Chairman, we also have the council here, Anthony Christoph. He's sitting in our office with us as well as the Gage family representative.
Yes, welcome, Mr. Christoph. We haven't seen you for a while.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've missed you.
All right, so we'll now turn to consideration of variance application 2022-008 by David Gage and Deborah Conlon, property owners, for reduction to the average waterway yard setback of 63 feet to 37 feet for construction of an enclosed porch on the existing deck over an existing concrete patio at the dwelling located at 697 Glendon Avenue on Back Creek. So Kim Burke, is that you again?
Yes, it's me again. So this variance is for the average waterway setback is 63.3 feet. The existing patio is at 32.84 feet from the water, and they are proposing to enclose a 17.5 by 12-foot portion of their existing second-story deck into a screened porch. And that corner sits at 37.5 feet from the water. The property is trapezoidal in shape, so it has a lot of waterfront. And with this, they are proposing to remove a side gravel sidewalk. So the overall reduction in impervious is 114 square feet. And a portion of this screen porch is over a patio on the ground level. And then there's also a third-story deck above it for a small portion also. So the critical area does not consider, when you have a deck over a deck, to be pervious, it's impervious. So the total sidewalk to be removed is 185 square feet, and which then leads you with, there is a small portion of dirt underneath of the deck, which will remain at this point dirt. So the overall reduction in impervious is 114 square feet. I hope that was, is that clear? I know what I'm saying in my head, but it's hard to sometimes come out with it.
So the surface under the deck is not paved, but it's dirt.
Part of it is, and part of it is existing patio.
And the patio, the paved part is not going to expand, or it is going to expand?
It is not.
Okay. Anything else, Kim, from you?
I think that's it. I know there's going to be some questions, so I'm happy to answer them.
And you're satisfied there's compliance with the notice and posting rules?
Yes.
Okay, we do have some public comments.
Yes, I know.
All right, let me turn to Mr. Christoph. Have you had a chance to review the public comments?
Yes, we have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so you're familiar with our practice here. We've read everything, but what your client has not specifically addressed is some of the issues raised in the public comments. So tell us what you think we need to know, but I would suggest that you focus on that.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, you may note from the opposition that you've received from the neighbor next door that there's some likelihood that this case may be going beyond this board to circuit court, regardless of the outcome. So notwithstanding, I know your desire to keep things at a minimum, there are some questions I would like to ask of the several witnesses to supplement what has been submitted, and also to address the comments from the neighbor, which I think are the only public comments that I'm familiar with the exception of one from an architect who does some work in the immediate area. So with your permission, I would like to call Mr. Gage as my first witness and take him through at least a line of some questions which I think may be relevant in the likely event of an appeal.
Well, you're welcome to do that, but again, please try not to repeat matters that are already in your written submissions.
Mr. Gage, would you state your name and address, please?
David Gage.
Let me ask each of those who will testify. Do you affirm that, subject to penalties for perjury, that the evidence you'll give tonight is true to the best of your knowledge?
We do.
Yes, we do.
Everybody signed on to that?
I do.
All right. Go for it, Tony.
Would you state your name and address for the record, please?
My name is David Gage. I reside at 697 Glendon Avenue in Annapolis, Maryland.
And you own that property with your wife, Deborah Conlon,
That's correct.
and you purchased it in August of 2021.
Correct.
With regard to the rear or water side of the existing residence, what is proposed, and do you have photographs which show, well, let me ask you this. Do you have photographs which show the area where the proposed improvements will be located.
Yes, I do.
Did you take those photographs?
I did.
And would you briefly indicate to the board what they depict?
The photo, which I think you may have copies of them already, is taken from our rear deck to the area that's to be enclosed, or proposed to enclose for our screened porch. You can see the second story deck, which would just be extended 2 more feet, and then the rest of that area underneath would be enclosed.
The area underneath is proposed to be the 12 by 17.5 foot porch.
That's correct.
Right. With regard to those photographs, can you see in the background some of the windows of the Pattison property to the immediate west?
Did I do? On the second floor, they're more easily seen behind the leaves on the tree, this being summertime. There's also another bank of three windows similar to the one above on the main level, which is also obscured by leaves at this point.
Okay. Would you indicate to the board the purpose of the porch that you propose, that is the 12 by 17.5 foot screen porch?
I will. We bought this house last year. We tried to improve it. The existing deck is 23 years old, needs renovation. We seek to enhance our ability to use and enjoy that deck in more than just fair weather. If we could get approval for the enclosure, we hope to get three season utilization of the deck. So not just in temperate temperatures and fair weather, but actually whatever the weather. Compounding our desire to do this is I have a medical condition that I cannot sit in direct sunlight. So actually, I've had over 50 skin surgeries over the last number of years. So I just need to have cover from the sun, and this would enable me to really, for all 3 seasons, whatever the weather, remain out of the sun's rays and still enjoy the breezes, the views, and the ambiance that the deck provides for us.
Mr. Gage, your photographs show currently several umbrellas, which arguably give you some shade. Would I be correct in stating that they're subject to the vicissitudes of weather, wind, et cetera? You require something more permanent for your condition?
That's correct. And we find ourselves dropping those umbrellas often due to windy days or inclement weather. And so it's really limiting our ability to utilize them.
Have you checked the neighborhood? Do other waterfront houses have screened porches?
Yeah, there are 5 properties that back up on Glendon Avenue that back up onto Back Creeks, similar to our property. We have no screen porch. Mr. Pattison in the next house over does not presently have a screen porch, but the next 3 houses have screen porches, and number 705, Glendon actually has 2 screen porches. So we're really in the minority, and then we'd just like to have the same functionality to have 3 season use of our deck as the adjoining neighbors, or the nearby neighbors.
And do you have an opinion as to whether the proposed porch will have a negative impact on Mr. Pattison, your immediate neighbor's light and air?
No, he's got 11 windows that are facing directly into our property that are less than 12 feet away, which seem to be perfectly adequate. The side of our deck, or the proposed enclosed deck, will be over 14 feet away from his side of his dwelling. So if anything, it's going to have more light and air than the entire rest of the property.
And have you analyzed, in your opinion, and as best you can, the impact on the view from the Pattison residence?
To the extent that he looks directly into our deck, onto our deck, perhaps that would be impeded to some extent. But and if you think of the entire scope of his wide range of views he has from his property, it's a tiny slice. And honestly, I think some privacy would benefit both of us. I think he expressed some concern that he'd have no privacy whatsoever in his master bedroom if this is constructed. But if we're able to shield it ourselves and himself and afford some privacy, I think it would be a benefit to both parties.
Have you had an opportunity to look at what was submitted by Mr. Patterson relative to some of the photographs? And if I could address you to those relative to your, again, opinion as to impact on the Patterson view through your existing porch or any proposed structure?
Yes, on the lower level,
And can you possibly refer to the page numbers?
on page number 8 of Mr. Patterson's objection letter, it shows a picture from his basement bedroom window looking directly under the existing rear porch. About midway under that deck, we have a hot tub. So we really feel, actually, we prefer he doesn't have a direct view of us using our hot tub. I mean, I don't know if there's an innate right to privacy, but we certainly don't feel that that's a view that he's going to be seeking. If you go to page 9, you can see how close the properties are, looking directly into and onto our deck, and to some slight degree through our deck. Then from the master bedroom, he's looking straight down on us and straight into our master bathroom windows and the master bedroom windows. So again, privacy, I think, would benefit both parties.
Is his view based on those photographs, both through your existing deck, the first floor deck, I'll call it, and from his apparently second floor bedroom window, already partially impeded by things that exist, including vegetation?
Yes, absolutely. And there's currently, we have some potted trees on that side of the deck to try to afford some, so he cannot see straight through our deck as it is now.
Right, and the bedroom view that he has, what is his view currently looking down based on the photograph?
Looking down, you can see the tops of the umbrellas, and you can see some leaves on the trees that hadn't fallen at the time. So actually during the summertime, that would be somewhat occluded views. And then you see our bedroom windows and our master bathroom windows.
Looking at the lower picture on that page, is in fact that view essentially of your existing deck and the umbrellas?
It is, sir.
And is that going to be significantly changed by the roof of the proposed porch?
Well, where the existing deck is still going to be the top, so he'll still have unobstructed views out over the top of it from the second floor.
Thank you, Mr. Gage. I have no further questions for this witness, Mr. Chairman.
Board members, questions? So the application refers to a screen porch, and you're calling it a 3-season porch. So that means that you're going to replace the screens with glass, at least for some parts of the year?
Do you want me to answer that? No, sir. Just we want screened areas only.
Okay. And will there be a wall of some kind below a certain level, and then the screens above that?
On one side, there'll be a masonry wall with a gas fireplace.
That's the side facing the neighbor?
Correct.
Okay. So I assume if you wanted to put up a fence to give you privacy around the hot tub, you could do that, couldn't you?
Well, the hot tub is in the middle of our patio.
But a fence on your property line that would screen your hot tub from your neighbor, that's something you could do.
Yes.
It's possible, but then again, you'd be closer. The issue of light and air might well come up again. That's all.
Mm-hmm. So the neighbor has given us his views on light and air with photos that to some extent support that. you've given us yours. In some of these cases, we've had professionals with some experience in those matters try to give us a little more comfort one way or the other. Have you consulted anyone like that?
Regarding light and air,
Yeah.
well, I just observed that 11 of the 17 windows on that side of the structure face directly into our house, have no views at all other than our house, yet those are deemed to have sufficient light and air. Now, these are 2 feet further away than those 11 windows are facing our house. So they've got 2 feet more light and air than the entire rest of his property.
I have a question for the staff. Sort of, when was this house built? I think it was in there somewhere.
1998.
It was built in 98.
And substantially renovated when?
But we've been doing some work on the interior, but the deck needs to be renovated also. That we envision this as part of that process.
There have been, if in looking at the aerials, and the permits that have come in, there was a grading permit in 98 for this house, and there hasn't been anything exterior wise other than some buffer management plans for planting since 98.
Okay. Then my question is void.
Mr. Chairman, just a quick question, if I might, on the requirements for a variance. Mr. Christoph or perhaps Mr. Gage would like to address it. As you know, the condition A requires that the conditions of the specific property involved a particular hardship to the owner would result to distinguish from a mere inconvenience. I read in your brief that on the one hand, you refer to the trapezoidal shape of the rear yard being significantly smaller in the area, but then you seem to argue that the issue was more the problem with mosquitoes in the summer. Could you please elaborate how this is more of a hardship than a mere inconvenience?
I think my response to that, Mr. Walsh, would be that in order to utilize, as Mr. Gage has indicated, the porch area because of his condition, it necessitates the screening of a certain area and also a permanent roof or sun shield because of his medical condition. I realize that that's not related to the shape of the property, but there's no place else.
That wasn't cited in your initial, of what I've seen in your submissions either. He's testified to that tonight, but that's not what you were arguing in condition A.
I'm not sure exactly the question that you're asking me. I'm sorry.
Well, I got the bottom line is so it's the testimony then that it's a hardship because of Mr. Gage's medical condition.
I think when you take into consideration, as Mr. Gage has testified, that the 3 other properties to the immediate west, but for the new neighbor, all have porches and all enjoy them seasonally throughout the year, indicates the fact that there would be a hardship if this area could not be used but for 3 or 4 months of the year. I realize that inconvenience and hardship are relative terms, but I think the inability to use a waterfront deck on a waterfront property for all but 3 or 4 months of the year would be a hardship for a waterfront property such as this.
And for a waterfront property that was purchased just last year?
I don't understand why the time of purchase changes the hardship.
I would think that, I mean, I would think when you're looking at a home like that you'd be considering a lot of the factors that we're talking about here.
I can't answer that question, having never looked at purchasing waterfront property such as this, but again, I'm not sure of the question. Would you not buy the house because you don't have a screened porch?
Yeah, I guess that's a question. Yeah.
That to me doesn't go to the hardship versus inconvenience issue.
Well, I guess my point is that just a year ago, within the past year, this condition has, it has gone from being a house that was worthy of being purchased to now needing improvement as a necessity for this purpose.
I could ask Mr. Gage to respond to that.
To be honest, sir, we never realized it would be a city matter. We were not changing the footprint. We didn't even realize that a variance was going to be required. We saw it. I mean, the whole house needed some renovation and updating. As part of that, we thought that's an ample sized deck that we could screen a portion of it and both enjoy open air and still have some protected views, areas.
Thank you, Mr. Gage. I appreciate that answer. That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Kim Burke, how does impervious and lot coverage enter into whether they're allowed to do this? Is it not an issue because there's already a roof over the deck? They're just going to put screens around it? Is that it?
There's a couple factors. There's an overall reduction in the impervious, and unfortunately, with the aerials go from 2002 back to 1984. So and as of 2002, this house looks exactly like this. Nothing has changed. So you can't increase your impervious if you're over, but they're actually reducing. So, and it's a buffer modified property. So you're not required to reduce. You can maintain what you have, but they're actually reducing. So it doesn't, if they were coming in with this screened in porch and it was all dirt underneath and they weren't moving anything, it wouldn't be something we would support. Because you can't increase your impervious if you're over. You can maintain what you have and you can reduce.
But much of it is dirt underneath.
Right, and they're leaving it as that dirt. And their reduction is taking out the sidewalk on the side of the property for an overall reduction of 114 square feet.
If I could add in Craig Martin from Spire, I just wanted to qualify, not a lot of it is dirt under the deck. It's 71 square feet that is currently dirt. So it's.
And how much, what's the pervious square feet that the project is adding? I know
the pervious, it is reducing by 236. So the delta is 185, I think, if I'm doing my math correctly.
And that's a larger roof over the deck, is that it?
No, that is a reduction in the impervious. 185 less square feet is going to be covered.
That's a net number, right?
Yes, that's the net number. When you take the added roof that will cover 71 square feet, but then you reduce it by 200
That's what I want to know. So it's the 71 square feet that's considered addition to impervious.
That's correct. There will be 71 more square feet covered by this roof. That's correct.
Got it.
So
And the
10
fact
by
that there's already a roof above it.
a portion. There's a deck portion above it. So
Right,
you know,
okay.
it's when you tile together the missing part, the piece that is currently considered pervious that would be covered by the impervious roof would be 71 square feet, but then
Okay.
whatever's being for a net reduction of 185.
Any more questions from my colleagues?
Nope, plenty to consider though.
Yeah. The hardship and the air and light seem to be two of the top ones. The hardship is really a philosophical question, and to a large extent. On the air and light, we're leaving the record open for any public commenters to address anything they've heard tonight. I would also leave it open for a shorter period. Let's say next meeting is what, December 6th?
6.
Leave it over to December 1st. If you have anything else you'd like to add on the air and light question.
If it's appropriate, could I add one thought from the architectural design piece
Sure.
for the pictures that Mr. Pattison submitted? If you notice the picture on page 9, the lower picture, there's sort of 3 windows that he shows in that picture. The area that would be taken up by the new roof would be the lower quadrant of the middle window. And that area is already blocked by the deck and the structure of the house. So if he's talking about a view like to the water or to a view that's beyond, there's not any real significant difference in his view from his master bedroom, which seemed to be a very big concern.
View is not part of the
Oh.
criteria. It's
Oh,
air
okay.
and light.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so that area is further away and is not significantly reducing anything, as Mr. Gage said, about the rest of the windows are much more impeded than any of these windows would be. So
All right, well, I just wanted to give you that flexibility. If you want to use it, fine. If not, that's fine too.
thank you.
So,
And Bob, you would be expecting that to be written submissions that would be distributed to the.
yes. Yeah. So with that, we will continue the hearing until December 6th. The record will
Mr. Chairman?
remain.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
Chairman?
we did have intended to testify, although I don't see him on your, we have a witness relative to the standards who is Mr. Jakubiec. I think the board may be familiar with him. He's been a land use consultant for many years and has appeared before this board, perhaps not this same board, but others, to address the standards for the variance. I mean, for the, yes, for the variance. I don't see him on,
He's here.
I am here.
oh, there you are, I'm sorry. Unless the board determines that it doesn't need to hear from him.
So this would be in the nature of expert testimony.
Yes, directed to the variance criteria.
Yeah, we, under our revised rules, we don't qualify experts. Do any of the board members have anything they think they would like to ask Mr. Jakubiec in light of his special expertise?
Is there anything that he wants to add to the written submission? We don't need to pile on specifically. Has he read them? Does he feel they're adequate? Does he want to add anything?
I'd be
Standard.
delighted, Mr. Chairman, if I may. So a couple of thoughts I might share with the board members. It might be relevant to your decision making. The first is the question of light and air. Light and air is a standard that is especially attuned to variances to setbacks, and particularly to side yard setbacks, right? When a structure gets closer to the side lot line than is permitted by the code, the question rises, does this create a light and air impact? But that is not the case in this case at all. The variance here is a variance from the water's edge, not from the adjoining side yard. So the question of light and air in the classic sense doesn't have the same relevance at all. And as a factual matter, I think Mr. Gage addressed this point, this project doesn't affect light and air at all. It's actually set back further than the existing house. In other words, the house itself is closer to the adjoining house than this screened-in porch would be. The screened-in porch would be built on top of an existing structure, so it encroaches no further than the existing structure. And it creates, it's a screen-in porch. It's not creating a interference with sunlight or any other kind of activities that might happen within that side yard. If the applicant was asking for a side yard variance, in other words, going from 6 feet to 4 feet, your questions would be apt. It'd be right on. Does this create a light and air issue? And the question, you may decide it does. But here, the structure is actually set back beyond the regulatory setback. So on the question of hardship, there are a lot of reasons people want to do construction activities. When I was on the Board of Appeals in Annapolis 20 years ago, we often had people petitioning to us saying, I have a disabled child that I require certain variances in order to construct this building. But we had to remind applicants that the hardship standard relates to something unique to the physical property, the physical surroundings. Here, if you apply the variance, or I'm sorry, if you apply the waterway setback strictly, the applicant could do nothing. They could not build a deck. They could not enclose a piece of the deck because the waterway setback runs through the building itself. And the reason why this property is so imposed and burdened by the setback is because of the way the city structures the calculation of its waterway setback. It takes the average of all the others within a distance of 300 feet. And the others have very large setbacks. This is a unique, quirky little site. And so when you take the average and impose it on this lot, you essentially make it unbuildable. So does someone have a hardship? Certainly, if they want to simply do a reasonable improvement to their project, an improvement that is routinely built within this neighborhood and within the R2 zone, they encounter a hardship because they simply can't do it without the variance. And it's certainly not the case that this applicant is seeking to cover the entire deck with a porch or a roofed screen-in. It's only a small portion, or maybe less than half of it is actually being enclosed. So that actually addresses the last standard that you have to address, one that I think someone brought up with the last applicant. There's much more I can say about all the other standards, and I'm happy to provide any further guidance the board might need.
Anyone else like to hear from any other subject from this witness?
I don't think so. Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, can I clarify one point on one of the exhibits? And the exhibit is the actual basement floor plan shown on one of the two sheets submitted by the architect. Mr. Gage had testified to the existing hot tub, and you'll note that that portion surrounding the hot tub is in fact paved. The area underneath where the major portion of the screen porch will go is shown as pavers. And I just want to clarify, as I think Ms. Burke did, that that is not the case. If in fact that's applied for, that would have to be a separate application. That area is, as has been testified, currently grass, dirt, etc.
Is that right, Kim Burke? You're on mute.
Yes, sorry, that's correct.
So is there anything that would need to be changed in terms of conditions to a variance if it was granted?
I mean, I would feel, if you wanted to make that a condition of, the ground level stay as is.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, that's up to you guys. And I've also, somebody had asked me about, or I don't know if it came up with one of the letters that came in about critical area violations. There are no critical area violations on this property. Yeah. I think that came up as a question, and there are none.
It's it's not part of the criteria that we consider
Okay.
in any case.
Okay.
All right, so we'll continue this until December 7th.
Would you
The record
clarify,
will-
what it is that you wish us to address in writing between now and then?
I'm not asking you to address anything, Tony. I'm saying if you decide that there's any new information that you would like us to have relating to the air and light issue, that we'll take it until December 1st.
Thank you.
So the record will remain open to the limited extent that I've described. And we'll see folks again on December 6th. Thank you all very much. And we should have a decision for you on December 6th.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
All right,
Very much.
Julian, we can excuse these nice folks, and the board will go about talking about some administrative issues. So the one issue that's on my list is we mentioned at one or two previous meetings. We talked at I think those who were at the last meeting, we agreed that we would not recommend going back to in-person meetings anytime soon. We'll look at it again in the spring. But we also considered whether we would like to permit public comments through the Zoom format. And the two obvious things that popped into my mind, I guess one or more of the other boards is doing this or is thinking about doing it. It will probably result in our hearings lasting a little longer. But it also would mean, I believe, and I think council has confirmed, staff has confirmed, that with extending the opportunity of public commenters to comment on the night of the hearing, we would not have to continue each hearing for a second night. So that would give us a much better ability to manage the need for a special meeting each month, with the hope that we could avoid doing that as much as possible. And Dr. Chen had a particular request in that regard.
So to add to that, Bob, I would say that if we had, we could then move to more, just making it known to applicants that you have one regular meeting and work with applicants to just have one regularly scheduled meeting for hearings, which is similar to what the Historic Preservation Commission currently does. That would be a goal, and it could also improve, to the benefit of the applicants, our timeline for getting opinions to them, which would be an advantage.
Nadine?
Yeah, thank you. I have had a change in my schedule, which requires me to be at a meeting the third Wednesday of each month. And the timing of that meeting and this meeting prevents me, they're very close in time. And so I would be hard pressed to attend my first meeting in person, which is something that's preferred. So I was asking if there was some way that we could reduce the number of Wednesday meetings per month.
Well, I think this idea would do that.
Yes, and so I would be very, very grateful.
Okay. Christian, Michael, thoughts?
I think that's fine. I see no problem having a managed public comment and in return for being able to decide on the same night. I think that's great.
I serve at the pleasure of the mayor and the city and citizens of Annapolis, whatever they do.
What about me, Christian?
Okay.
Uh,
So we could actually
Okay.
start that.
Oh,
with
there's
the-
that.
You just said that because you saw that Alderman Arnett is watching.
Hi, Ross. I didn't see you there.
Bob, we could actually begin that with the December meeting. We have only one new hearing item at this point in time for December, and we would just, advertise that as just, and inform the applicant that it's not going to be continued, so that wouldn't be on the agenda that way. And then we would just, if anybody else approaches us about having a project scheduled in December, we would just tell them that the next meeting is January, whatever the first Tuesday in January is.
Yeah. Okay,
That would be, that, we can institute this new.
let's give it a try, see how it works.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
I did run into Alderman Arnett at Home Depot, and he didn't recognize me. He thought I was much bigger than my TV personality presence. That's how long we've been doing this.
So Bob, did we adopt that as a rule
Yeah.
and procedure of
Yeah.
activity?
We're gonna do it.
Do you have to?
Grown in the job.
We need to amend the rules?
I'll look at them and decide, but we can move ahead and amend them later if need be. All right, guys.
No new
Why
business?
is Alderman Arnett here? Does he not have anything to do on the first Tuesday of the month?
There was a
Considering
case
it's the third
involving, his constituents. He's
Yes,
often lurking there.
course.
So
I came to admire the fabulous work done by this body.
that's a
Good
good,
answer.
We've got that on tape, right?
isn't the voting season behind us?
Yes.
never too early to start campaigning.
Never too early.
Right, that's right.
I think we can agree on that. Never too early.
All right, I hope everyone has a lovely Thanksgiving.
Motion to
So-
adjourn.
And to you.
Second.
All in favor?